Hi, I'm Mike, and this is NFGeeks. Well, for those of you who don't know, there's an NFGeeks discussion group forum now on Facebook, and I encourage you all to join if you haven't joined already. It's been a lot of fun. And on the forum, the members have started doing NFGeeks video challenges, which I'm sure many of you know is when somebody makes a video of themselves talking and they're talking about their type and various other things. And so this is my contribution to that because, it is my fucking forum. I should make something. I mean, I should do something, right? I guess I have to participate in this. Peer pressure. Um, so here's my contribution. And I want to talk my first reaction to all this, all these videos that started coming up. There's a ton. It's almost impossible to watch them all. I mean, there's so many videos. It's amazing. Is that my first reaction was, it never occurred to me that people would be making videos of themselves with my name on it. They'll say NF Geeks. So these videos are being produced with my name on it that I had nothing to do with. I didn't encourage. I didn't authorize. Nothing. That just sort of just coming out of the ground like flowers. I had nothing to do with it, and that's not bad. That's good. It's been very amusing and wonderful. But it reminded me of the fact that, there's always unforeseen consequences to your actions. I talk about this when I teach ethics. That ethical mistakes come from thinking that you've covered all the bases and you know exactly how things are going to turn out down the road, and that's never true, and that's where you get into ethical conundrums. This obviously is not an ethical conundrum, but the event made me realize that point that you never know how things are going to turn out from your initial actions. It never occurred to me that people would make videos that would say NF Geeks on them. It just never occurred to me. And yet there they are. There's a ton of them. So please check it out. Join the forum and see. So again, this is my contribution to that. This is my own video challenge. I don't like the word challenge, by the way. I wish we had some other different word. Monologue. I don't know. But as it stands, it's video challenge. So okay. So these are questions, and I'm going to go through the questions and answer them. So the first one: what is my type? Well, I'm an ENFP. As everyone knows. Okay. What are you primarily interested in? That's tough, especially as an ENFP and me. I'm interested in lots of things that I try to sort of weave together all the time. The first one, obviously, is the Myers-Briggs. I'm very interested in the Myers-Briggs. I think about it all day long. Really, there's not a moment where I'm not thinking about it and applying it and wondering how it could be used and what's going on with it. I'm constantly involved with it, so that's one of my most important interests, and that obviously connects with NF Geeks and everything else. Um, I'm also interested in the humanities because two of my graduate degrees are in the humanities, literally called a degree in humanities, the transdisciplinary degrees, and that's important because I consider myself to be a transdisciplinary intellectual. So I don't have a focus in any one subject. My focus is being transdisciplinary, being able to connect and unite multiple subjects together into one piece. My dissertation is very much like that. It's like a quilt. I sewed a bunch of things together. So putting all that together, humanities and the Myers-Briggs. I also have a degree in holistic leadership. I'm very interested in that too. I like to put and that's again another transdisciplinary degree. So I try to be a very well-rounded person in terms of that, and then applying the Myers-Briggs into all of that. So I guess that's what I'm interested in. So that's question number 2. Question number 3: how do you relate to your temperament? I guess that means other NFs because it's the use of the word temperament. I relate fairly well. Obviously, this is NF Geeks. I'm into being an NF, and I'm trying to reach out to other NFs and let them know that they're not crazy and that they're just NFs and they have special abilities and talents, and they should appreciate that and find worth in that. That's my main way of relating, I think, to the NFs. And the reason for that is the ugly duckling story, okay, which is one of my favorite stories. And I think it's Hans Christian Andersen, right? Isn't he the one who did that? Doesn't matter. I'm not going to tell it because you should know the ugly duckling story, but what people don't necessarily realize, or they kind of pass over, is that the ugly duckling doesn't realize that he's a swan until he meets the other swans. So, then he realizes he's beautiful. And that's how the way I want to relate to NFs, or at least have NFs relate to me, that they're not crazy, they're not mentally ill, they're just NFs, and that there's something beautiful to that. Saying that, though, I want to point out, I think I've mentioned this on the forum or in other places, NFs hurt each other really badly. NFs are hurt by all the types, but not like at the hands of another NF. My worst pain that I've suffered has been at the hands of another NF. So there's something about that going on. But that doesn't change my relationship to other NFs. This is NF Geeks after all. All right, so next, what got me interested in the Myers-Briggs? I've had a long history with MBTI, going back to, I think, the early 90s, maybe even like 1990. And I've taken it 5 times, the actual MBTI, over my life. I've taken a bunch of other versions of it, but the actual MBTI I've taken 5 times. The first time I took it, I was in college, way back in the before time. And I remember very vividly getting my profile and reading it, getting ENFP. I've been ENFP the whole time. I've never had another type other than ENFP. And I remember very vividly my reaction to it and what I said in my head, and it isn't very politically correct today. I'm going to just give that disclaimer. It is not politically correct, certainly to the part of the nation I live in. But I want to capture, my reaction and, what it's like to first find your type and sort of being disconnected with it. So I get the ENFP profile and I read it, and I remember this exactly. I said to myself, my God, I sound like a faggot. Oh, that's what I said. I know it's not politically correct, but that's what I said. That's what I really said in my head. However, even at that time, I couldn't deny it. I remember this too. I remember reading it and thinking, "Oh God, that is like me," and yeah, that's right, and just sort of accepting it, begrudgingly accepting it. The next time I took it, and so there's a progression of my interest. The next time I took it, I was in my late 20s, and I was a little more comfortable with my own skin and had a little more experience with it because I was a social worker at that time, and it had kind of come up a few times. So I remember that, and I remember being okay with ENFP and kind of accepting it, and saying, okay, this is all right, this is good, MBTI. My interest in it really kicked up about, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago, because I taught a seminar on career at the school that I work at. So it's it's sort of a career seminar class for a semester. And part of that is the curriculum is to take the MBTI, to take it in the career center, which every student could take for free, and take the MBTI, and then I would lecture them on it. So I actually developed a whole lecture about MBTI, talking about it. So I had this academic experience with it. And I took it again at that time, again, ENFP. And so that was really the big sort of moment where I started taking it seriously, okay, and incorporating it into things. And I began incorporating it into everything. So, for example, I used to have a discussion group of actual people, not online, called the Academy. Some people who are on the forum were in the Academy. And I started using the Myers-Briggs there, typing different members and kind of pointing out how they think and how we relate to each other and things like that. And so it was this gradual buildup. But what really sort of tipped me over the edge into having a real deep connection to this was Noah, and figuring out he was an ISTJ. Because once I figured out Noah was an ISTJ, a cascade of revelations occurred about him and I and our relationship. And for the first time, I felt like I truly understood him. And I also understood why we were the way we were with each other. And it made a huge, huge positive impact on my relationship with him in ways I can't even describe. There's so many. So that was really the impetus for me really taking this seriously and turning this into NF Geeks and becoming an MBTI practitioner and everything else that went forward. So the real sort of switch came with Noah. And also after that, being able to sort of accept my SJ family and understand how they were all SJs and what that meant. And, and sort of being able to accept and forgive them in a lot of ways. And that's what I like about MBTI. It's really about accepting people and understanding them and forgiving them more than it is about you. I mean, I know it's all about, there's a part of it that's about you, and everybody's sort of, trying to figure themselves out through it. But really, it's about understanding other types and accepting them. That's actually more important. So that's been the whole, my progression with it. So the next question is, how has MBTI impacted your life? Very positively. Really has. It's really feels like my calling in a lot of ways because um, I never get sick of it ever. I talk about it all the time, not just on NFGeeks, in my life. Noah and I talk about it in the car on the way to school, wherever we're going. We're always talking about it. So it's very much a big part of my life, and it's impacted it wonderfully. I really feel that not only is it a calling, but it's, I don't know, it's almost like a destiny. Like I should be doing this. I think about it all the time. It comes easy to me. It really does. The ability to think it through, the ability to recognize it in others. I type people very quickly. It takes a very, very short amount of time, sometimes minutes, and I'm there already, depending on who it is and whatever. So I mean, it's really sort of part of who I'm supposed to be. It really is. And NF Geeks too, by extension of that, and doing what I'm doing with NF Geeks, both on Facebook and of course this channel. And so it's really sort of pointed the direction of my purpose in life in a great way. So the impact has been very, very positive in every way that I can imagine. So I'm really happy about it. I love it. I do. All right, next. Show an object, book, or possession, or whatever you like to the camera. Okay, I got a special one. This one's really special, and it goes back to my childhood, and that's why it's special. So I have with me my favorite spaceship of my childhood. This thing. Look at that. This is my favorite spaceship. Now, what it actually is that it's a space fighter from the television show in the late 70s, early 80s of Buck Rogers in the 25th century. It's a remake of the old Buck Rogers from the 30s and 40s. Not very good, kind of cheap. There was a movie and then there was the series. And, I'd watch it because as a kid I was into science fiction. I watched everything science fiction. But one of the things I got was this spaceship. This is one of the starfighters from the show. And it's made out of die-cast metal. This is before micro machines when things were made out of metal. And it's very rare. And one of the things I like about it, first of all, is that the wings retract. See, isn't that cool? But I always leave the wings out. I think it looks better with the wings out. See, look at it. Now, why is it special? Is because when I was younger, I used to have a whole game with a friend, a whole Dungeons and Dragons like game where we had starfleets and planets and various characters going through adventures and back histories and individuals and civilizations, this whole very complex thing. And this ship was one of the ships that I would use in my fleet. It was a small vessel for a few people, that I would use in the whatever we were, mission we were on or whatever. So it's connected to that. I gave it a name. The name of it was the Endeavor. Okay, and that was even before the space shuttle. There, okay, that's I kind of was ahead of the game on that one. But there's two reasons why it has sentimental value, or MBTI-related sentimental value. So the first thing is that my SJ family would drag me on all sorts of SJ activities that I absolutely did not want to go on. And of course, being SJs, they didn't give a damn about how I felt about it. So I would take a few spaceships, mostly this one, usually always this one, and maybe one or two others, and I'd put them in my pocket. And I'd be like 9, 10 years old doing this. And I'd put them in my pocket, and I'd have little mission space adventures while I was sitting on a bench or, wherever I was having to deal with whatever was going on. I would have these sort of adventures with this particular spaceship. Now, what makes it even more important, I've talked about this on NFGeeks, but this really hits home with me about this issue, is that in the game that I would play with this friend, all my plots were NF plots. All my missions were NF missions. It really shows how your temperament and type can be seen through the thread of your life, going backwards, going forwards. So I was definitely an NF as a kid, evidenced by this. My friend's missions and plots and things that he would be doing were always, I don't know, I think he was an SP because they were always about, officers, Starfleet officers breaking the rules because there was a bureaucracy that just didn't understand. And so all his characters are always stealing ships and breaking out of star bases, doing all of that. And my missions and things and characters were all about love. Okay, it was all about lovers who are in the same fleet, or alien, being in love with an alien that was in another civilization and trying to get to them, but being separated by, time and space and alien wars and all these things, and, trying to just get together. And this ship was part of that, all of that, many, many, many times. Now, what makes it important is that I had lost this thing for decades. It just went into the abyss. And when I was cleaning out the house I grew up in with my sister, lo and behold, here it was in the basement, in a little corner somewhere, and I was thrilled and so happy that I had, that I had got it back. And so I keep it next to my bed, actually, at night. It's sort of on my bed on my bureau, right there. Just, I don't know, so I don't lose it again. But there it is, my little NF adventure spaceship looking for lovers in space. There it is. So that's my object. So, next question. What are the greatest misconceptions about your type? I guess the biggest one, and they're kind of related. There's two, but they're interrelated. I guess one is that we're sort of like SPs in a way, or somehow we're very SP-like, and I think ENFPs get caught in that. That somehow, I guess because we're happy-go-lucky, okay, that we're sort of just living in the now and all that, but that's not really true. ENFPs are NFs too, and we have NF moments, and our NFness captures us and catches up with us, and we're reminded sometimes very harshly that we are indeed NFs. But I think the real misconception is somehow we're very flighty, and I don't know, I guess I must come across as flighty if I'm an ENFP too, but I think that is the greatest misconception, because I don't think that the ENFPs are necessarily flighty. Loopy, maybe. But not necessarily flighty. I know, there's sort of a nuanced difference in definition there. Because, one of the things that comes up, I've seen these in the motivational posters, and I don't get this, and if somebody wants to explain it to me, I'd love it. But there's this whole ENFP thing about glitter, that for some reason we like glitter, or we want to have glitter, or something, and I never got that. I don't own any glitter. I don't think I've ever owned any glitter, ever. So, I don't know what that's about. So if somebody wants to explain it. But I think the flightiness and that somehow we're really SPs, I think that's the greatest misconception of our type. Okay, so next, what are the limitations that I experience with my own type? Well, I experience all the limitations of ENFP, as everybody experiences the limitations of their own type. Before I tell you my limitations, I want to point out that this is why it's good to accept your type. Really kind of accept it and take it in and incorporate it. Because what you'll find over your life, especially as you get old, is that your limitations run completely parallel to the limitations of your type. So all the mistakes in your life that happen definitely follow the MBTI type and follow the limitations of that type. Okay? So the more you understand your own type and incorporate your own type, the more you can accept your own limitations and understand when they're going to come up, as opposed to just stumbling over them all the time. So that's one of the things I do like about this. So what is my limitation? Okay, the limitation that really bothers me the most, because it has such a strong emotional content to it, is the really weak introverted sensing I have in terms of picking up things in the environment and taking them into memory. And the worst part about it is that I never remember people's names after a certain amount of time. Okay, I'm terrible with names. I remember faces. I always remember somebody I've met, but I forget their name all the time. Now, why is this terrible? Is because, I'm a very popular teacher. Popular everywhere, I guess. But I am. I'm a very popular teacher, and I'll run into students from many semesters ago, even years, and they'll remember me. Okay, just like you remember me, they remember me right away. And they always had this wonderful time in my class, and they come right up to me and they want to tell me how much they enjoyed class and how much they got out of it and how fascinating it was. And they want to make this sort of personal connection with me. And you can't blame them. I would have done the exact same thing, but I cannot remember their name to save my life. Okay, this usually happens. Every now and then it doesn't happen because somebody will stick out, but most of the time I don't remember their names, and I'm so embarrassed and humiliated by it because it's an opportunity for real deep emotional connection. Again, I'm an NF too, and I don't want to hurt their feelings, and I don't want to, have them feel humiliated or anything like that. At the same time, I can't get it. And I want to tell them that, but be authentic. But at the same time, I don't want to hurt their feelings because they're having this really great moment with me. They're so excited to see me, So it's a real misery when that happens, and it happens a lot. It happens often. Okay, I run into former students all the time, and it totally bums me out when that happens. So that's a real limitation that I experience fairly regularly. Okay, so that's my big one. I'll leave it at that. Now, next, what is my ultimate dream endeavor? Well, okay, you know what? My ultimate dream, really, at least right now in my life, is to turn NF Geeks into the best possible channel it can be. I would like NF Geeks to be much broader, much better. I'm really going to try to take it up a notch this year in every way that I can. Doing the Facebook thing, the forum is part of that. And I really want NF Geeks to be, I want NF Geeks to be the biggest MBTI voice on YouTube. That's really what I want. It doesn't have to be the best or the smartest. Obviously, I'm not into that. I was never into that whole Professor MBTI thing where people come on and try to lecture and show how they know this and all that. I like talking about different ideas on NF Geeks, but I don't like it. I don't need it to be a lecture. That's my day job. What I really wanted it to be is a personal, sort of subjective experience of MBTI. Here's my experience as a ENFP, INTJ, ISTJ, whatever. Just have this personal experience of it. And so I really want that to be really big, this sort of talk show format that I got and everything. I want it to be the biggest voice on YouTube. I mean, I'd love it to be the biggest thing on YouTube. I don't think that's going to happen, but you never know. I definitely want it to be better. Okay, I want the production value to be better. I want the videos to be better. I want everything about it to be better. Really take it up a notch as a channel, and try to be a really serious channel. That's really my dream. My dream, ideally, would be to do NF Geeks full time. To actually just have this sort of video channel that I could do full time and devote full time to, and really, really make it something awesome and special. That would be my ultimate dream, to do that. Because I really enjoyed this. This has been so much fun. So that's what I would like to do. Make NF Geeks as professional and as large as it can be. Really, I'd like it to be the biggest MBTI thing. Really. That's what I'm shooting for. Okay. So the last thing is, you can say whatever you want. That was the last question. And I guess I want to talk about one last thing that relates to the last question, is that one of the goals I do have, in spite of the fact that I don't want to be Professor MBTI, is that I do want MBTI to be taken more seriously in the world. I want to try to really show that this works, and really show that this has a lot of potential, validity, use, in every way. Those of us who are into it know that, but I want to sort of solidify that. So, for example, my dissertation is involved with the Myers-Briggs, and that is to sort of get it back into academia. If Myers-Briggs is really going to be better, if we're going to make the whole thing better, then it has to return to academia so that actual academic scholarship can be done on it. That would make it stronger, make it better, make it more viable. That's one of the things. And the other thing is to try to really promote people using actual tools. This is something that goes on in the forum all the time. I'm like a broken record on this one. But to try to get people to use inventories, use professionals, ideally, professionals with inventories, but if not actual inventories, take the actual Myers-Briggs, spend the money, actually take it. Because I find when there's all this sort of self-typing and just trying to sort of pick and choose. It makes the whole thing seem ridiculous and not really worthy, and it makes it seem like astrology, and it isn't astrology. You know, it really has a validity. So that is one of the other goals I have connected to making NF Geeks the best channel I can make it, is to make Myers-Briggs as valid and viable as any other theory or any other tool in terms of understanding people. Because I think that if it was up to that level, it would make an even larger impact than it's already making. All right, so that's it. That's my video. So I hope to see others, and can't wait to see how this is going to turn out on the forum. So again, if you haven't already, join us on Facebook, NF Geeks discussion group. You'll find it very easily. Okay, thanks.